Okay, folks, so this is a review of a 40-plus-year-old Dayton Generator. First thing people are going to ask me is, why am I doing a review on something that's 40 years old? Well, I get a lot of questions about older pieces of equipment. A lot of this stuff is still available on Craigslist, and quite frankly, there's no reason to fear it. It generally sits online for sale for months and months and months, sometimes for $100 or $200, and nobody ever touches it because they're afraid of something like this. Well, there's nothing to be afraid of. This is a very hardy piece of equipment. This particular one was run in construction for years. I think the person who originally owned it retired. The generator certainly didn't retire. It sat for a while, and now it's back to life again. I had to put a carburetor on it. The old carburetor was so gummed up that there was no saving it. Even after soaking it for a couple of days, it still wasn't able to idle. And if the idle doesn't work on this particular carburetor, you end up with a problem where the engine surges. It's constantly changing idle from high to low, because the low, when it slows itself down, there's no fuel. It turns around and speeds itself back up again. So it's surging is what it does when the idle circuit doesn't work. So I was forced to buy a $10 carburetor for it, and that's all it needed. It works quite well, as you'll see in a minute. So if we go around here, you can see some of the modifications that have been done over the years. This particular machine has a dirt bike exhaust, I guess to try to make it quieter. And it's had some electrical work done to it too. It's got a all aluminum front end, no plastic on the recoil. It does have a plastic gas tank, but that was common in the 70s. We started to go to plastic. That was one of the first things that switched over to plastic. And over in the back, there's all kinds of fun stuff going on back here. The generator itself in the back has had all kinds of modifications done to it. It's got a big dryer plug on it. It's got two toggle switches that are attached together with a piece of aluminum so that they both switch at the same time. One for each side of the 220, which gives you your 220, and of course it's got a 30 amp disconnect attached to it. And all of these things were done for various reasons over the years, I'm sure. But they were done tastefully, although it probably doesn't look like it. Everything was done quite safely, and it still runs quite well. So let's give this thing a try. I'm working with a new camera here, so we'll see how this all turns out. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. So let's give this thing a try. We'll give it a start, and we'll plug in an electric heater and see how it draws down. And basically that's it. So let's see what we can do with this cold start. I guess there isn't any gas in the gas tank. I thought there'd be enough in the line to do this, but I guess not. So let's try another gas tank. This is what you do when you don't want to put gas in a gas tank just for the gas to sit and go bad, or try to work the gas out of the gas tank. You get another gas tank with a tube on it and a shut-off switch, and you put it next to what you're working on, and you hook up whatever you're working on to it so that you're not basically testing something and turning around and spending 10 minutes getting the gas tank cleaned out again. So, This is how we cure that problem. A little baby gas tank. So let's try this again. May not start quite as easy this time, but let's give this a try. Come on. There are two things you can say about a piece of equipment like this. Number one, I don't think you're ever going to wear it out. But number two, if you have close neighbors, they're going to hate you. Because this thing is loud. All of this particular model is loud. Both the Dayton and the more common model, which is your Coleman PowerMate. There's nothing you can do. As you can see, the exhaust has been modified and everything like that, but you can't do anything about the noise. So you better be hoping that your neighbors are understanding, or you have to choose something else. You certainly don't want to make anybody angry. All right, well, that's the review of the 40-year-old generator. And it will probably be around another 40 years. Who knows? I know one thing, it's going to be tough to wear it out because they really are that good. All right, you guys take care. Have a good day. Here's a little piece of extra footage you guys may not have known about, or it's something that I just thought I'd throw in here. We just did a review on this Dayton generator, and the generator is now going to go into mothballs and get put away. But how are we sure it's going to start when we need it? Well, to the right here, down here, this little piece of equipment. Let me see if I can get closer to it so I can lift up this little cover. This is a little air pump. This is a nebulizer. It's used to deliver drugs to people with problems. It takes a liquid drug and it pumps air in around it and turns it into a vapor, and the people inhale it. You can buy these little things for $10 in a thrift store. They're not very expensive at all. But what I use it for is when I'm done with an engine, like this one, and it won't be used for a long time, I take the fuel line, gotta find the fuel line here in the viewfinder, and I disconnect it from the tank, because the tank is empty, and I leave it open. I take the line from the nebulizer and hook it up to the fuel line. Then I start it, make sure it's completely out of gas, let it run out of gas, it usually only runs a few seconds, and then leave this little air compressor hooked up to it for a couple of hours. This gets rid of all of the gasoline in the carburetor and in all of the ports and passageways. Completely dries out the carburetor completely. And you know it's working because you can smell the gasoline, the fumes all around this generator. But if you take one of these generators apart after doing this, you can't find any residue whatsoever. So this is the trick to getting a small engine into mothballs and to be sure that you're not going to have problems in the future. And that's what we're doing here. So just a little piece of extra footage I thought I'd throw in there. And you guys have a good day. Hope you enjoy. Bye.